Actually, don't. Yeah, you can start singing when they come in. Yeah. Dear friends, a few brief announcements. Please take a moment and take a deep breath and turn off any cell phones, pagers, or small electrical devices. Immediately after the memorial service here, the family will be gathering in the social hall for a chance to celebrate an incredible woman and an incredible life. And there's food, and there's a chance to pay your respects, a chance to be together as a family, a chance to be together as a community, because in this instance, our entire community mourns truly a most beautiful, most remarkable individual and a wonderful family. Donations in Susie's memory through the JCC can be made for camp scholarships, which were so important to her, and for the incredible work of the Bernard Wanger JCC, so I hope that you'll make donations. The information is on the back. And so as we listen to the beautiful music of Ken Smith, the family will be joining us in just a moment. Shiviti Adonai l'negdi tamid. I've set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exalt, my soul rejoice, my being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Death has taken our beloved Susan Joy Spector, our beloved Susie. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Susie's love that united us in life which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path. which now continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness, and is now a precious, precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator in joys and sorrow, in light as in darkness, in life and in death. There are 150 psalms, and so we offer the psalms as a way of expressing our grief. Psalm 121 is so beautiful. Asa enai el ha'arim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help on a difficult day like today, on a difficult week like this week. My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. Susan Joy Spector was sweet and kind and had an infectious laugh. She had incredible warmth. She was generous. Actually, she was beyond generous. She was selfless to a fault. She was sensitive. I'm told that she even cried at Folgers coffee commercials. She never missed anything, a game, a match, a competition. She was there, and she was present. And so now we are here, and we are present. We just heard Psalm 121, but of the 150 Psalms, there's one Psalm that speaks to all of us, the 23rd Psalm. No matter what faith tradition we may be from, it's the 23rd Psalm that reminds us that we walk together through the valley of the shadow of death. The psalmist very easily could have written, yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, or I remain in the valley of the shadow of death, or I feel like I'm always in the valley of the shadow of death. But the psalmist was very clear. We walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And so we walk through with Susie's amazing family, with Lori, an incredible husband, every step along the way, a true team member, a true partner, to loving children, Chad and Holly, Judd and Jillian. Thank you for all that you do and did and will continue to do. Your mom taught you and pushed you to be your own individual people. You've done that very well. She's very proud. And incredible grandchildren, Ryder and Cooper. To her parents of blessed memory, the late Bernard Wanger and the late Helen Wanger, two incredible people who literally led this community. Ryder and Cooper, you have an amazing legacy of parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents to help you lead the way, to help you give back and to share and to honor an incredible, incredible legacy, a legacy of love. To Mitchell of blessed memory, and to in-laws, family, and friends. Friends who are just like family, each step along the way. And so as we offer the 23rd Psalm, I reflect upon these beautiful words. Those who walk through the valley of shadows wear no shoes. Their feet are cut and torn as they stumble through the darkness. With no time to pack a bag or say goodbye, they begin their journeys unprepared. What's so hard about today is we are unprepared because, as Michael said to me just outside, we didn't have a chance to say goodbye. We didn't have a chance to pack a bag to get ready for this journey. Some are dressed in finery, jewels gleaming like stars in the dim light. Others are in pajamas or work clothes, prayer shawls, and bathing suits. Some clutch briefcases and papers, blankets, and teddy bears. And oh, she loved the teddy bear that I brought to the hospital a couple weeks ago. And everyone wears their grief. And with each cautious, painful step, we move further into the abyss. Stretching out our fingers, they trace the grooves carved by previous pilgrims. Handholds hewn into the cold canyon walls. Sometimes we march in silence, other times singing hauntingly beautiful melodies. The river that created the place, the valley, does not flow from on high. It was formed and filled by the tears of those whose bruised souls traveled this trail. But no one walks this trail alone. Stumbling pilgrims are quickly caught and held aloft by those who travel beside them. You need to know that there's a lot of people, not just in this room, not just on the live stream, but there's a lot of people who were touched by Susie's kindness and her goodness, who are here to help you each step along the way. And in time, for some, a light appears in the distance, piercing through the veil of darkness. Hope long buried rises to the surface like a beacon. And with it, the weary marchers ascend to find a world that's been changed forever. Yes, your world has changed forever by the absence of Susie. They return with pale faces and broken hearts, but as experienced travelers, we'll always have a suitcase packed and ready, because we never know when this time will come. And so I invite you to join with me on this service supplement as we offer the 23rd Psalm in her honor and in her memory, reminding us that we walk together through the valley of the shadow of death. Adonai ro'i lo exar, b'no desha yarbitzeni. Amei menuchot yinachaleni nafshi yeshovev. Together, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. At this hour, the blessed presence of family and friends brings comfort and strength. It says to us, be sure that love, the spring of life, abides. May all who mourn take heart as they remember the goodness they've given and received. And when the memory of their loved ones will always, always be a blessing. Also in the service supplement are the beautiful words of Rabbi Larry Kushner, who writes that each lifetime is the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. For some of us, there are more pieces. For others, the puzzle is more difficult to assemble. Some seem to be born with nearly a completed puzzle, and so it goes, souls going this way and that, trying to assemble the myriad of parts. But know this, Larry Kushner writes, know this. No one has within themselves all the pieces to their puzzle. Like before the days when they used to seal jigsaw puzzles in cellophane, ensuring that all the pieces are there, everyone carries with them at least one and probably many pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And when you present your piece, which is worthless to you, to another, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not, you are a messenger from God Most High. Every single person in this room, every single person on this live stream, everyone who comes to the Shiva later today, somehow, some way, got a piece of Susie's puzzle. Maybe directly from her growing up as incredible friends, maybe as for over 50 years as a husband, as children, as grandchildren, maybe as on the board of the JCC or involved in the community, maybe a friend from Country Kitchen or a neighbor from Waverly. Somehow, some way, you got a piece of her puzzle. And now it's up to us to carry that puzzle with us, to help us to share that puzzle piece. And so I begin with her family to begin to pay their respects and to make some reflections on an incredibly beautiful soul. Judd, I begin with you.
Can everybody please rise for me? All right, you can all sit down. I just wanted to do that. Always wanted to do that. Do you know what you call a lesbian dinosaur? I'll lick a lot of puss. My boys love that joke. When we met with the rabbi over the weekend, it was this weekend, right? Me and Steve, we always hang out, so all the weekends get mixed together. We were going to have this in the other room, and he said, I'm going to put out about 80 chairs. And I said, Rabbi, that's not going to be enough chairs. And this room is full. Wow, this is going to be harder than I thought.
You got this.
I mean, just looking out at all the faces, you know, there's a lot of old friends of my parents here. new friends of my parents here, a lot of my childhood friends, a lot of people that she worked with at the JCC, at the JUF. It just really shows her reach, you know, in the whole area here. But today isn't supposed to be a sad day for us. We didn't want to do a traditional Jewish funeral. My mom didn't want a traditional Jewish funeral. She wanted, and we want this to be more about her life. You know, she was one of the really sweetest people I knew. I don't think she really hated anybody. Maybe there were a few people, but, you know, I mean, she never got mad. I think the only people she really got mad at were me and my brother. More him than me. But, you know, he's more like my dad. I'm kind of more like her, you know, which is probably why I was her favorite. And that's probably why I'm also the one doing this. My brother wasn't allowed to do this. Yeah, so I'm not going to be up here long. I'm just going to make this quick. But she loved all of you. And I know all of you loved her, you know. And if there's anybody here that I don't know, or you don't know my dad or my brother or whatever, it's always an awkward thing at a funeral, you know, of what do you say to somebody, you know. You don't need to say you're sorry. I mean, you being here, I know you're sorry. If I don't know you, please come up to me after, introduce yourself, explain how you know my mom, if you want to tell a story, whatever. You don't have to say you're sorry. Man, I didn't think I was going to be doing this today. Also, my brother, he loves meeting friends of my parents that he doesn't know. So if you don't know my brother and you're here after, make sure you go and say hi. Introduce yourself. Make sure you have long, weird conversations, uncomfortable small talk. It will really lift him up and make him happy. You know, yeah, karma, bitch. If there's one thing I learned from my mom and my dad, it's friendship and your family are extremely important. I mean, I can look out here and I see people that have been friends with my mom since she was 8 years old. She's going to speak later, but I mean, most of these people in the audience I've known for 20, 30 plus years, you know. It's just awesome that you guys are here. I just want to say thank you. Everybody in the last few weeks who helped, who was around, in the last few days who have helped. We appreciate, all of us appreciate it, you know, from the bottom of our hearts. And just, I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you.
Jillian, I invite you to come forward.
Hi. I have written pages and pages and post-it notes and drafts about Susie, and nothing seems to be enough. Nothing could ever be enough. This wasn't supposed to happen, and my heart is broken into a million pieces. Standing here, there are no words that could ever explain what we are feeling besides heartbroken and completely devastated. I have repeated over and over to friends, to Judd, to anybody that would listen, this was not her story. This was not her time. There are so many things I didn't get a chance to say, and too many memories we haven't even begun to make. If you knew Susie, you knew she was kind. You know she was selfless and generous to a fault. Susie has been in my life for 35 years. I'm 26, so I don't know how that's possible. That is so many days, but it will never be enough. I could tell so many stories. The most amazing woman who I got to call mine. Just like the ending to a great book, her final chapter surprised us all with a plot twist that no one expected. I love you, Susie, so much.
Perfect. That was amazing. Amazing. Ryder, I invite you to come forward.
This one?
Yep.
Losing someone we love is never easy. And the pain of her passing will stay with all of us for a long time. As I look around this room, I am comforted by the fact we are all here. But I find comfort in knowing that my grandmother is now at peace, and she left us with a legacy of love and kindness. Her memory will continue to inspire us all. Thank you guys all for coming and supporting me.
Perfect. Nettie, I invite you to come forward.
Oh, whoops.
Okay. You got this.
How do I begin to speak about my dear friend Susie? A lifetime of memories come flooding into my brain. We were sisters by choice, and boy, was I lucky. Susie's dad, Bernie, and my mom, Sophie, went to high school together. We met when Susie was 8 and I was 9, and we went to overnight camp together at MacDo Lodge. We were taught to look for the very best in every person and strive to be the best possible version of ourselves, even starting at that very young age. I knew how special a person my Susie was. At MacDo, there was an award called Honor Girl. I had to work the entire summer before becoming one. Susie earned hers the first week of camp. During the winters, we spent many overnights at each other's houses, forming a bond that lasted a lifetime. After we married, we were blessed to discover that our husbands went to both grammar school and high school together, which even strengthened our friendship. And so for the last 50-some years, we have shared the births of our children, raising them, celebrating countless milestones, and were even fortunate enough to travel together many times. We were also there for each other during the hard times when we lost our parents and our in-laws. The definition of a friend is a person attached to another by feelings of affection and/or personal regard. A person who gives assistance and support whenever needed. A person that is there for you always without the need to ask. And my dear Susie, that was you. I stand up here today as a representative of an entire sisterhood of ladies whom all feel the same, who love Susie unconditionally, as she certainly did all of us. I once heard it said that in life we get 3 names: the name our parents give us, our Hebrew name, and the name that we make for ourselves. Perfectly named by her parents, Susan Joy, for the obvious joy she brought to her family and friends. Her Hebrew name, Shoshana, which means rose, a flower as beautiful as she was a person. Finally, the name that she made for herself. Her legacy of kindness and humility will live on. Susie and her family changed the lives of so many with their incredible generosity, and for that we will be forever grateful. Lori, you and Susie were truly an extension of our family. Richard and I are beyond appreciative for the love, support, and interest you have had in our children and our grandchildren over the decades that we have been friends, and vice versa. There's one thing that I can say for certain about my lifelong dear friend, Susie, is that your life was one truly well-lived. There is no amount of time with you that could ever have been enough.
Perfect. Andy, I invite you to come forward. Nettie, those words were perfect.
I heard to speak after that, my dear friend. I didn't meet Nettie or Susie as early as they met each other. And when we met, though, we became a triumvirate. They even made me an honorary MACDO girl and sang me the birthday song. I can't sing it to you. I've heard it 100 times, but I can't sing the whole song. But that became part of me. So for all of you MACDO Lodge girls that are here, I sort of know the song. Not completely. The other night when we were sitting with Lori and Chad and Judd and Jill and sitting in their beautiful house surrounded by everything that Susie loved, and Nettie curled up in her chair, and I happened to sit diagonally across from Susie, across from Nettie. She was Susie incorporated. On the table in front of me, I just happened to glance down, was a book that's called What We Lost. It's poems by Rabbi Pupko that you might know of. Many of you might have received this book. We happen to have gone on a mission with him. But the book was sitting on top of a book that I gave Susie called Friends, which also had poems in it. So somehow I got in my head that I could write a poem to honor Susie.
Perfect.
So here's my poem. I will not focus on what has been lost, but what has been gained by my years of friendship and love and laughter with our dear friend Susie. This is my meager attempt at a poem and a tribute to a woman that I loved. We did not grow up together, but together we grew. We met when Chad and Jeffrey started preschool and all was new. We built shadow boxes waiting for our next babies, Judd and Lisa, to come. They then shared ups and downs of young mothers always on the run. We continued in the years ahead to share adventures large and small, ships, planes, even rowboats. We experienced them all. Navigating together the highs and lows we lived through, most important of all is that laughter and love remained true. You always said I could make lemonade out of everything, so here I go. You are my cherished friend, the kindest, caring, least judgmental person I know. I will be forever grateful to have had you in my life for all of these years in a row. I hold you tight in my heart and hear your joyful laugh in my head. I will think of you over morning coffee and when I'm enjoying a book we may have read. No tears per your request from my easily crying friend, but orders are orders, so I will bring this to an end. The days ahead may be a little less bright for now, but I promise to see rainbows and sunshine through somehow. You have taught me lessons of strength and courage, to name just a few. I love you, my dear friend, and will always be thankful for you. In our loss of our dear Susie, we must remember that her presence in our life was truly a gain. So hold on to and love each other and only see the good and hear that wonderful laugh as a constant refrain.
That was perfect. Perfect. I invite Nancy and Alan Spector to come forward.
I'm going to go first. It's going to be very quick. Susie was probably one of the nicest people I have ever met. And I have one word that I always think of when I think of her, sweetheart.
Thank you. You know, when you talked, can you all hear me? When you talked about the puzzles in a jigsaw puzzle, I thought hopefully we were a big part of a big puzzle in Susie's life. I know recently when Ellen was in the hospital with Lori and Susie, that was an important part of the puzzle. So it's so good to see everybody. Okay, I was looking at this. Just everybody take a look for 1 minute. Look how happy and how much the family meant to Susie. It just touches your heart, I think. As you know, or as a lot of you know, I'm Nancy Spector, married to Alan, Lori's brother, only brother, older brother, whatever you want to say. And I knew Susie for over 50 years. They were married almost 53 years, am I right, Lori? So it's been a long haul. And I want to quote Maya Angelou because it's one of my favorite quotes. And she said, "I've learned that people will forget what you've said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you feel, how you made them feel." And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Susie always made everybody feel special. She was not only kind, as you've heard many times today, sweet, nice, thoughtful, but really caring. We were all blessed to have Susie in our lives. Susie radiated that joy that was in her name every time she came in the room. In fact, her middle name, as you know, was Joy. When I asked my son Michael, who's here, about Susie, he said his first image was that of her wonderful smile and listening to her laugh. She was so welcoming to everyone in the family, inviting the Spectors over for holidays, for dinners, or a swim, and again made her guests feel so special. And there was her caring for Lori and Alan's parents, Cy and Rose. And then her parents, Helen and Bernie, for Lori, and for, Chad and Judd, and for her love for Jill, Ryder, and Cooper. Alan and I are forever grateful for all of what Susie and Lori did for Cy and Rose, since we were not in the city, not around. Over the 50-some years, we celebrated so many Simchas together. Bar mitzvahs, weddings, even including a pink wedding, a glorious pink wedding. Now look who's wearing pink today. I noticed both of you wearing pink. And who could ever forget the Ben & Jerry's ice cream that we had at the rehearsal dinner? Susie just was so happy that everybody loved that ice cream. She made it special, just like she was special. I remember Susie telling me that she never wanted to take her boys to the airport because it was too hard for her to say goodbye. But she always wanted to be there when they arrived. That said something about Susie. As most of you know, Susie and I have always been very different kind of people, but we totally respected one another. During the pandemic, while I was going crazy, you can ask any of my kids, of not being able to go out, not doing things and all that, Susie was happy. She was happy just staying home, reading a book, playing with her dog, whatever it was, and she had something, an inner peace that a lot of people never achieve. It was beautiful. So what can we learn from Susie? To be caring, to make people feel special, and to keep smiling and laughing. Susie still lives on earth in the acts of goodness she performed and in the hearts of those who cherish her memory. And I'd like everybody to say L'chaim with me. L'chaim.
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 She would want this to be to life. Thank you.
Amen. Perfect. Jolie Cooperman, I invite you to come forward.
Judd, I wanted to introduce myself to you. I'm your mother-in-law. Didn't want to miss you later. Susie was a Specter, but she loved being part of the Cooperman family. She could never say it enough. From the very beginning, Susie would thank us for making her and Lori feel so welcome and included in our close family relationships. We shared holidays, Sunday dinners, social weekend plans, introducing our friends to them and enjoying countless special occasions together. At our lake house in Wisconsin, Northbrook, Highland Park, Riverwoods at Paul and Steve's, Adam and Karen's, and at Jill and Judd's, of course. Memories, wonderful memories. And at Susie and Lori's home. Susie loved that home. She said she was going to die in that home. She didn't die in the home, but what she meant was it was a very special place for her. And I think everybody who knew her knew that. She was proud of it. Susie always had that big, wonderful smile, an infectious laugh, and tears streaming down her face because everything that was joyous in Susie's life was reflected in happy tears. Everything about the people she loved made her emotional, and the tears would flow, and she would smile. Susie loved life, adored her family, our grandsons, Ryder and Cooper. I knew if I said your name, I would have to stop. We loved talking about every little thing that they said, did, funny stories, wonderful accomplishments, planning our grandparents' dinner for the 6 of us, which we did very often through the years, sitting together, at every sports event, no matter if they were 4 or they were 18. We were there together. When it was I didn't write this, but I was thinking about it. When it was too hard for Susie to walk up the stairs at all the sports events, Don and I sat with her on the first row. And for the last 7 weeks that Susie and Lori have not been at Riders volleyball games, we didn't sit in the front row, in the first row. We looked at the first row and missed them terribly that they weren't with us, knowing that they wanted to be there. Our trip to Disney World made amazing lifetime memories for all of us to share. And the albums that Susie made for all of us reminded us of an incredible relationship that began so many years ago. Any time with Susie was special. We had many over the years. Not enough. We want more. Our Friday canasta games the last 5 months have not been the same without you, Susie. We've been waiting for you, saving your seat, excited for you to come back. How can you not be coming back? It is too sad to think about. Our birthday lunches all year for many years have been something we all looked forward to. We celebrate, open gifts, we laugh, tell stories, take pictures, and sing with a delicious dessert and a candle in it. But before the candle is blown out, Susie sang her birthday song, which I did not know came from camp. A couple of years ago, I recorded Susie singing the song at Betsy's birthday, and I have it. Anybody who wants to hear it, I played it for Cooper the other day. We will play that song at every birthday lunch, and she will be there with us on the video. It will make us cry and it will make us sad, but only for a minute, because we will be so happy that she's with us again at another occasion. We will miss you, Susie, at every occasion or just at a simple lunch at Country Kitchen. We will miss it all. You will be missed forever. We were so lucky that you came into our lives and became family. You had such a big heart. We will carry you in our hearts always. We love you, Susie. Sweet dreams.
It's an honor to invite Eddie Goodman, CEO of JCCs of Chicago, an organization that was so incredibly important to the family.
I met Susie almost 10 years ago when I joined our JCC family. In those early days, I learned about Susie's family and their commitment to Jewish community, a commitment beautifully illustrated by the establishment of the Bernard Wenger JCC. As a guest writer for the Jay's blog, Susie shared, "Standing in the lobby after the game, my grandson turned to me and said, 'Grandma, your name, Poppy's name, and my dad's name are all up on the wall.' I smiled and explained that we felt it was important to help build this JCC so that children like him would have a place to come and do things like play basketball, swim, take classes, or go to camp and preschool." Susie and her family assumed an awesome responsibility with so much heart for Jewish Chicago and our collective Jewish future. Over the years, Susie has been present, always present, with good, thoughtful, important questions and contributions. Susie has been generous. It was important to her that the community had what it needs and wants, and the JCC was able to give that. And it was a privilege to work with her in that space. And what I will remember most, like so many of you, is that Susie is so kind. Her grace and compassion and innate kindness made her glow. Her smile was radiant, and she smiled all the time. Some of my favorite Susie smiles. After a few tough years at the J, Susie caught me in the hall at Wanger a few years ago, dodging kids heading to the gym and pool and making way for folks heading home after a class. And with a smile, she said, "The J feels like the J again." Those words filled my heart, and I think about her sentiment all the time. Susie was so happy and so very proud at the celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Bernard Wanger JCC in September. The J was abuzz with children and families and teens for that birthday party, and when I reflected with Susie and Lori at the end of the evening, her happiness was palpable and her smile unstoppable. This past Sunday, the Bernard Wanger JCC boasted a full parking lot as community members headed to every corner of the building and grounds for what is now a typical Sunday at the J. They played basketball, they swam, they took classes. It's CUM season for preschool, and camp will get underway there in just a few weeks. The beautiful Sunday shining down on the J was no doubt Susie smiling. It was an honor and privilege to know Susie. She will live on in so many of our hearts forever, and I know her memory is for the most beautiful blessing. Thank you.
Perfect. I love that when you walk through the front door of their house, on the right side of the door is a stone with one word inscribed in it: Shalom. Hello, goodbye, peace. Shalom. Susie, in her own words, said that she was the luckiest orphan ever. She was adopted as a baby by Helen and Bernard Wanger and never wanted to know her birth parents. She loved Helen, and Helen was her mother, and she loved Bernard, and Bernard was her father. She was a woman who never, ever needed anything. She was never showy. She was not fancy. That didn't matter. Although once, when she was regaled for not wearing jewelry, especially a beautiful necklace that her mom bought her, she once showed up at Country Kitchen wearing every piece of jewelry she owned. She looked like she was ready for a coronation. And she beamed with an incredible smile. She was always low-key. Lori, you said often, she made you look good. Everyone loved her. She grew up in Oak Park, River Forest, attended West Suburban Synagogue with the great Rabbi Tabachnik. She was homecoming queen. She was also a candy striper at Gottlieb Hospital, where the Wangers and the Weinbergs were friends. She attended Wisconsin for several years until she dropped out after the protests up there in Madison. She worked at Midwest Stock Exchange. Lori was working at A.G. Becker. And a friend at a wedding told you that you should ask her out, and she gave you her number. Susie wouldn't go out because she didn't really like the girl who made the recommendation. It's kind of like that old lawyer's teaching that says a case is only as good as the person who made the referral. And so after a few long conversations on the phone while she was doing her hair, going out with someone else, you convinced her. She finally said yes, and your first date was to the Old Town Art Fair, a proposal in 1969, and a wedding at the Temple on May 24th, 1970 followed, and a beautiful reception at Bryn Mawr Country Club, of course, followed by a honeymoon at Frenchman's Cove in Jamaica, and then to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And so began a most amazing 53-year journey together. Chad and Judd completed the family. Lori, you and Susie were a great team, and your journey together was just that. You were together. You were a team. She always had dinner on the table. She was a good cook. Your friends, some who are in this room right now, would come over, with several of you showing up right when dinner was being served on purpose. People liked hanging out. Everyone was there and always there. But yours was a non-smoking house. So as you got older, the kids hung out elsewhere. She hated the country club scene. It just wasn't her. Her parents were always active behind the scenes. Bernard was active in the JUF scrap metal division, and Lori, you carried that on so beautifully. Helen was active in West Suburban Synagogue, and they modeled the way, truly modeled the way for community responsibility, community action. And so Susie got involved, JUF and the JCC, Battered Women, Shalva, Jewish Charities, BJBE when the kids were growing up, and right here at Am Shalom since 1999 when they moved to Highland Park. And she loved canasta and playing in person and online, but her real hobby was family. From the moment her grandchildren were born, she would take the kids, having them sleep over. What can I do to help, she would ask. She was, in your words, simply the best. Whatever the kids wanted, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, keep it in the middle of the living room for a few weeks, no problem. Legos everywhere, no problem. Swimming, not a problem. She never missed an event. The two of you, grandchildren, grandsons, never, ever, ever did anything wrong. That's what she told us. You never did anything wrong. Spill on the furniture? Who cares? Let the kids do what they want? For sure. Noel's outdoor leadership for two boys from the North Shore of Chicago? Absolutely. Which is why, as sons, you love the outdoors, living out west, camping and driving trucks. That's your mom. That's her rebellious side, carrying over to the next generation. She taught you to swim against the current, be a rebel if you have to, but no matter what you do, exhibit huge inner strength, because that was Susie. She loved baking and cooking gefilte fish with her mom and cousin, making a gefilte fish cake at Passover and at the holidays. She would do anything for anybody. That was Susie. The only person that Susie couldn't help was herself, because she always put everyone before herself. That's just how she was. She was selfless till the very end, until her final breath. She loved her Machatunim, the Coopermans, one and all. Thank you for your beautiful words. She was so incredibly generous of her time, of her energy, and of her money, but in no particular order. Time, energy, and money. She gave it all. She included everyone. She loved the big gestures and the small ones. They all added up. She never did anything for recognition. And so on the Chicago Jewish Funerals website, there's a place to leave messages for the family. Jerry writes, "We have lost a good lady." Susie always had a smile and a warm comment, said David. Susie was such a lovely person, always a smile and a "how are you doing?" She will be missed by so many, Sue wrote. Even though we lived miles away from each other, I will always think of her fondly as my next door neighbor growing up. Her laughter and voice were always genuine. Her authentic self is an amazingly precious gift. I will miss Susie dearly. We all will. I'm truly sorry for your loss. This is huge. September 9th will never be the same. So wrote Louise. And then Jill wrote, She was a pleasure to know back in your grade school days. She always had a smile. My sincere sympathy, Jill. Nancy, I loved how you called out the pictures because I want everyone to look at them, all phases of her life. Simon and Garfunkel said it best in a song called Bookends. And today, a funeral is really like a bookend. We have the date of birth, and then we have the date of death. In Susie's case, that's just not long enough. But it's a bookend to mark an end of this chapter, but she lives on in so many incredible memories. She lives on in the JCC. She lives on in the good works that she brought, the kindness that she shared with so many. I love that Simon and Garfunkel wrote the following. They said in their song Bookends, time it was and what a time it was. A time of innocence, a time of confidences. Long ago it must be, I have a photograph. Preserve your memories. They're all that's left you. In many ways, as Jews and as human beings, we're in the business of preserving memories. However we can. We hold on to them. Whether those memories are from being 8 and 9 years old, whether those memories are from poems and books, whether those memories are for 53 incredible years, whether those memories are every single day of being your best version of yourself. Preserve those memories. Should want you to do that. Every time I saw her in the hospital these last 6 or 7 weeks, there was still that smile. There was, when she was feeling up to it, a twinkle. Truly grateful for every moment, for every visit. And she wanted so desperately to fight, to be here to celebrate all of these great occasions. So hold on to those memories. They live inside of us. Please rise. El Malay Rachamim, God full of compassion, dwelling on the heights and in the depths, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to our loved one, to Susan Joy Spector, who has entered eternity. May she find refuge forever under the shadow of God's wings. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. And on the inside of the service supplement, we have a prayer called the Mishaberach prayer. We pray for healing of body and healing of spirit. While we can no longer pray for the healing of Susie's body, we continue to pray for her spirit, an incredible spirit that will live on with all of us. And so we sing together as a community these words of prayer. Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach avotenu bekor haracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'almad divrach hirutei v'yamlich machutei, b'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei kol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mavarach Le'olam Omeo Maya. Yit Barach V'ish Tabach V'it Pa'ar V'it Roman V'it Naseh. V'it Hadar V'it Haleh V'it Halal Shmei D'Kudsha Brichu. La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata. Tush B'chata V'Nechamata. Damiran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chaim Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. Useh Shalom B'mromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. Friends, the family will make their way down the hall to the social hall. To be able to gather and to say l'chaim, to eat something, to have a drink, to visit with friends, that's what Susie would want. The room is beautiful, filled with flowers. That's what Susie would want. Her friends made sure of that. The family does not want a receiving line. So mingle, just when someone in the family is free, make sure you go up and introduce yourself, especially to the boys. Just kidding. That was very funny. They want to hear nice long stories. Please make donations in her honor and in her memory to the Joy Spector Camp Scholarship Fund or the Specter Fund at Bernard Wanger JCC. The website is on the back of the service supplement. Please do good, be kind to each other, and smile a lot more than frown, because that's what she really would want. As the family makes their way out, because if you don't leave now, you won't get there at all, we find comfort from the words of our tradition. Oseh Shalom B'mromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru. Oseh